The following video will provide an introduction to various aspects of piling sugar beets. This is the personal protective equipment that must be worn by each employee at the receiving station. Note the hard hat, safety vest, and safety glasses. As the truck enters the receiving station, the employee on the chop stand rates the load based on the defoliating job, amount of mud on the beets, or frozen beets. The rating is conveyed to the scale person, and if the load is questionable, it is directed to pull to the side for an inspection by the foreman or agriculturalist. This is an example of discolored frozen tissue, which indicates the beet will not store properly. These loads must be rejected. Truck drivers receive a ticket from the scale person to take to the piler. Piler operators are responsible for starting and stopping the piler. Prior to starting a piler, the piler operator presses the button to sound the dirt horn and waits 10 seconds before slowly starting the piler. The operator will pause after each conveyor is started. This is an example of the hydraulic levers that operate the door and certain other parts of the piler, like the lift and the steering. This is an example of the up and down lights that direct the end dump drivers when to load their beets into the piler. Here is a side dump truck pulling on the ramp of a piler. Side dumps are unloaded by the piler operator using controls to raise and lower the platform the truck is parked on. The controls are either an electric push button, start-stop control, or hydraulic lever. For a side dump truck, the seal is extended. The signal is given to the side dump truck driver to unlatch the gates. This is an end dump truck pulling on the piler. He pulls across a low ramp, and the doors on that ramp are then operated to form a pit behind the truck for the beets to enter when unloaded. This is a live bottom, which is another form of an end dump. When the truck is being unloaded, each driver gives the piler worker the ticket obtained from the scale house. The ticket has two parts. There is a sample portion if a sample is to be taken, and a scale portion. On the scale portion, the employee records the pile number the truck is at. If the dirt scale reflects a number other than 0 when the truck is preparing to unload, the employee needs to zero out the scale. If the scale does not go to 0 and indicates either a plus or minus 10, that is fine. This is as close to 0 as we can get. As the beets are unloaded, the dirt weight scale continually reflects an increasing number, indicating the amount of dirt from the load. When the beets are completely unloaded, the piler operator will sound the dirt horn, indicating it is time to record the dirt weight. Accurately record the number from the scale on the dirt ticket. Give the completed ticket to the ticket runner to return to the truck driver. Once the ticket is given to the ticket runner, push the button to run the dirt out of the hopper into the waiting dirt truck. Make sure the driver is aware of the load so it does not run over as indicated here. If a sample is needed on a load, that portion of the ticket goes to the tare taker and it is placed in the pocket of the bag. The sample needs to be taken from near the middle of the load, which indicates a representative sample. The tare bag is placed at the end of the chute. The operator must hold the bag firmly in place while they push either a button or operate a lever, depending upon the piler style, to release the bucket that will capture the beets for the tare sample. Once the bag is filled, the bag is closed using either the snaps or a wire tie if the snaps are damaged. Never add anything to the tear sample or remove from the tear sample. If the sample is not the correct size, dump that bag out and take another sample. Remember to place the tear sample ticket with the correct tear sample. Place the tear bag on the nearby trailer. As the trucks enter and leave the piler, there is not much clearance, so make sure you stand back and are alert. Operating the boom swing is crucial to piling the beets correctly. It is a directional control with a left, right, and a neutral. Always stop the switch in the neutral position for a few seconds prior to reversing the direction. Each piler is assigned a pile height that is also controlled by the boom being raised or lowered. If it is not in the correct position, raise or lower the boom to get it in the correct position to maintain the proper height. The boom runs very slow, so watch the spools so they are moving in the direction it's supposed to. If there are spills on any part of the piler, make sure they're cleaned up quickly. We cannot ignore the spills. Some spills cannot be handled by a shovel. When this is the case, use a skid loader. If a truck continually spills beets, inform the foreman or agriculturalist, and they will speak with the truck driver. For beets that are not removed by the skid loader, use a shovel to remove the beets from the ground. Do not ignore spills. They must be cleaned up as soon as possible. Make sure the power cord is kept out of the beets, but always away from the trucks. Trucks should not drive on the cord. As the piler is moved, make sure the cord is not covered. Move the cord as appropriate. Each piler also needs to be oiled and greased on a regular basis. Skid loader operators need to be aware of their surroundings, and employees need to be aware of the skid loader operations so no one is injured. While operating the skid loader, be aware of clearances to the piler to prevent damaging the equipment. Watch for the piler cord so there is no damage as well. When operating the skid loader, put enough down pressure on the bucket so that the front end becomes light. You do not need to raise the wheels off the ground to get pressure on the bucket. This may raise the skid loader to a point where damage occurs to the piler. In Renville, we have ventilation tubes. These tubes are handled by skid loaders or telehandlers. Skid loaders have a special claw design to handle the tubes. Once the tubes are placed on the ground, we need to place beets behind and on top of them, which is referred to as backfilling, in order to keep them in place. Make sure loads are carried low when moving beets or any other product to prevent injuries. Keep guards in place and be aware of possible pinch points on the pilers and stand clear. Here is an example of a pinch point. This is a picture of a screen on a piler, which is the discharge portion or end of the screen. This is the dirt conveyor. There is the main conveyor and an end dump. This is an access ladder to get in to clean the main conveyor. This is an electrical box. If you need to enter the electrical box for any reason, you must shut the power off. Once the electrical box is open, you will notice there is a plastic shield with reset buttons to almost anything on the piler. If an area on the piler should trip and you need to reset it, find the proper component and push the reset button. Once the reset is pushed in, close the door and turn the power on again. With most pilers, there is also access to the tear taker reset without having to open the electrical box. Flip up the door, push the reset, and the tear taker should be in operation. When approaching the main disconnect, make sure you stand to the side of it and look away from the disconnect when turning it off. When entering certain parts of the piler, follow the lockout-tagout procedure, which is posted on each electrical panel. The first step is to lock out the power. Put the key in your pocket so no one else can unlock it, and try a couple of the controls to ensure the power is disconnected. Obtain a tag, sign it, and attach the tag where you are entering so other employees know why the piler is locked out. It is now safe to enter the machine. Once the work is performed, exit the machine and make sure everyone is accounted for. Remove the tag, check again to make sure everyone is clear of the machine, remove the lock, and turn the power on. Trucks have the potential of spilling or leaking liquid, and pilers have the potential for hydraulic hoses to break. All liquid spills must be contained in a spill tray located at each piler. The spill trays are low enough to fit under a truck. Contain the leak until the leak can be plugged and/or fixed appropriately. Any and all spills need to be cleaned up and immediately reported to the foreman or agriculturalist. Familiarize yourself with the location of each fire extinguisher on the piler. Fires are rare, but trucks do have the capability of starting a fire. Each piler has several emergency stops. Use the emergency stops when the piler needs to be shut off in an emergency. They are not used when locking out a piler. When a truck is on the piler, walk far enough around the truck so the driver is aware of your presence. This is also beneficial in the event a truck would happen to tip over. It will prevent injuries. The steering wheels are located under the cab with most pilers. It is the only method of steering the piler and is controlled by a lever in the operator cab. Pilers are moved when we need to make room for the beats. When it is time to move a piler, back away from the piler. The piler is lifted up, the crawler lockout is released, and the piler is moved a distance of 3 feet or less. When the proper distance is reached, a hand signal to the operator is given. The crawler lockout is reset, and everyone stands clear while the piler is lowered to the ground. To start the piler again, sound the dirt horn and start the machine. Anything other than a simple repair to the piler should be performed by the ag maintenance staff. Contact the foreman, who will contact the maintenance staff. This is what the maintenance staff's vehicle looks like.